This book has no tricks, no system, no brain, and is not considered a refreshing article. Gradually blackened, both righteous and evil, human nature, cunning, survival, and giving up self-esteem. Werewolf killing human version, chicken eating human version. Can only survive by killing people. I, who had a failed life, inexplicably entered a live-action game that cost my life, filled with various intrigues and intrigues. Every time I enter a new game, I always lose almost all of my memories. How can I break the game? Although I never thought of killing to make money, I have created unprecedented glory through killing. Since you are using me as cannon fodder, let me burn your lives with this cannon fodder. When I feel that I have fully understood human nature, I realize that I don't understand anything. When I feel like I can distinguish right from evil, I realize that it is already difficult to distinguish right from evil. When I felt like I had understood the true meaning of life, I realized that I just wanted to live. To live, everything is for the sake of living. Chapter 1. Room. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Dida, the uniformly moving second hand seems to have existed in this world since ancient times. The young man lying on the sofa slowly opened his eyes. The slightly dim purple light made him very uncomfortable. It seems like I have been sleeping for a long time, and my thoughts are a bit chaotic. Rubbing her face repeatedly, switching from a supine position to a seated position. At the moment when his hands left his face, he could see clearly what the clock looked like. That is a nearly 2-meter-high medieval clock, and the time has just reached 8:01. I shift. There are still 8 people lying around. Among these people, only one woman in red sitting cross-legged on the carpet is in a sober state. Women are also looking at themselves. Who are you? The young man naturally asked this question. Yang Ting, who are you again? Bai Mingchen. The young man naturally answered, but after answering, his face showed a confused expression. Can't you remember anything else besides your name? Seeing Bai Mingchen's expression, Yang Ting seemed to understand something. Bai Mingchen stared in surprise at the woman in red with a white collar aura across from her. Are you too? Yang Ting nodded slowly. There was a hint of disappointment on her face, indicating that she also wanted to gather some information from Bai Mingchen. Soon, the rest of the people around woke up one after another. Without exception, everyone only remembers their own name. Report your own names. Bai Mingchen, Yang Ting, Lin Chaojia, Xie Zifeng, Zhao Yuanyuan, Wu Yuzheng, Su Weiyun, Xiao Jiayin. Bai Mingchen automatically gave them a nickname in his heart for easy memory. Yang Ting, white collar female, Lin Chaojia, student sister, Xie Zifeng, bespectacled male, Zhao Yuanyuan, home-cooked woman, Wu Yuzheng, handsome male, Su Weiyun, killer, and Xiao Jiayin, general manager. Apart from 8 people, there is also a middle-aged man wearing a checkered shirt, who is still sleeping on the coffee table. There are 8 horizontally textured teacups with different water contents on the coffee table, as well as 8 burning candles. The light emitted by the candles is a faint purple, extremely eerie. In the living room where they are located, except for the clock, all decorations, items, or horizontal patterns or arrangements look as awkward as they may seem. The placement of the clock is also very eerie, it is placed at the center of what should be the TV background wall. The most anti-human thing is the lighting on the ceiling, who would choose purple as the main color tone of the lighting. Because there was no other memory, everyone appeared particularly silent except for announcing their names. The seemingly timid housewife nervously picked up the teacup in front of her and took a sip. The gurgling sound of swallowing tea appeared abrupt in this quiet space. Hey, wake up, how can you sleep so well, you guy? The muscular man wearing a vest, revealing large chunks of flesh, pushed and shoved the sleeping man, and sat cross-legged beside him. I didn't think he exerted too much force, but the sleeping man fell off the coffee table directly. The muscular man let out a terrifying scream, his legs pedaling backwards until he hit the clock before stopping. His face wore a frightened expression that did not match his image. He's dead. The muscular man pointed towards the sleeping man, his voice carrying a trembling sound of fear. Ah, the student sister also let out a scream of terror. Although it was a scream, the clipped sound felt weak no matter how it sounded. After the sleeping man fell down, Bai Mengchen couldn't see him due to the cover of the coffee table. Upon hearing that he was dead, Bai Mengchen quickly bypassed the coffee table to look. The sleeping man with a pale face collapsed by the coffee table. There was no anger in the round and staring eyes. Grass. The white-collar woman angrily cursed, with a skeptical expression in her eyes. She retreated away from the crowd, heading towards the kitchen. Xiao Jiayin, the only one still sitting on the single sofa, first looked disdainfully at the fitness man, then touched his nose and said, "Everyone has no memory, and no one knows who killed him. Perhaps he died naturally, so it's uncertain. Damn it, natural death. Which natural death person have you ever seen would be in this state?" The words of the white-collar woman made the general manager frown. He squinted his eyes and stared at the white-collar woman in a deep voice, asking, "Have you seen many natural deaths?" Damn it. The white-collar woman cursed again without any image. Seeing that she had retreated far enough, she suddenly turned around and ran into the kitchen. After a moment, the white-collar woman walked out of the kitchen holding a pointed kitchen knife. The kitchen knife pointed towards everyone, and the white-collar woman retreated towards the entrance door. This house presents another anti-human design before her. The fingerprint lock on the entrance door is actually inside the house. After 8 consecutive attempts, the mechanical sound of the fingerprint lock kept repeating, "Verification failure." The knife changed hands and tried several times, but still failed. "Beauty, why don't you let me give it a try? I also want to leave this haunted place. Kill Matt and walk towards the entrance door. Get out. Don't get close to me." The voice of the white-collar woman was particularly sharp. She held up her kitchen knife and took 2 steps towards the killer, with a dagger in her hand making an attack. Kill Matt and raise his hands to his chest, making a surrender gesture and slowly retreating. Okay, don't get too excited. I won't get close." The white-collar woman still nervously raised her sword and pointed towards the crowd, until Kill Matt completely retreated to the living room before she retreated horizontally towards the bedroom. Until the sound of the bedroom door closing came, the living room fell silent again. In the end, the general manager broke the silence. When he stood up, Bai Mengchen saw the edge of the tattoo on the collar of his shirt. That guy will be a time bomb. Everyone knows he's talking about white-collar women. The general manager calmly walked over and kicked the body. "It's not hard yet, it should have just died. Since we were all unconscious just now and everyone has lost their memory, then none of us should be the culprits." The glasses man pushed his eyes. "How do you know that everyone really has amnesia?" In a simple sentence, the indoor temperature has significantly decreased by a few degrees. Most people's eyes are a bit flickering. The general manager looked at the man with glasses with great interest. After watching for 2 minutes, the general manager finally pursed his lips and let out a smirk. Humph. With a strange smile, he nodded and headed towards the bedroom corridor. Kill Matt, who was blocking his way forward, took the initiative to make way for him. Not long after, the general manager strolled around the house. Returning to the living room, he casually grabbed a cup of tea and drank it all in one gulp. 8 cups, 8 bedrooms, indicating that this dead ghost doesn't even belong here. How can you be certain that he is the 9th person? The glasses man's slightly sarcastic voice came again. Damn it, if you don't argue against me, you'll die. The general manager glared angrily at the man with glasses. How about we call the police? In a slightly tense atmosphere, the voice of the housewife was so weak and powerless. I don't have a phone on me, so I guess you don't either. Bai Mingchen's words clearly lacked credibility, and most people still checked their pockets. It is not difficult to see the result from everyone's disappointed expressions. I just saw that there are computers in every bedroom. The general manager finished speaking and walked towards the bedroom with his pocket inserted. Everyone kept a distance from each other and followed him into a bedroom. The bedroom is very large, and when 7 people enter, they line up without appearing crowded at all. Walking to the computer, the general manager turned around and looked at everyone. Seeing that no one had the intention of actively controlling the computer, he grinned again. It's not interesting. With so many people, I'm afraid others might ambush you from behind. What's going on? As he spoke, he sat down in the chair and turned on the computer switch. Chapter 2. Werewolf Killing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. During the gap between turning on the computer, Bai Mingchen walked to the window and pulled open the curtains. Behind the curtains is a solid wall covered with wallpaper. Everyone else saw this scene, even the general manager tilted his head and looked lost in thought. It's turned on. The words of the man with glasses woke up the distracted general manager. The general manager quickly opened the browser. This page cannot be displayed, please check the network. Bai Mingchen, who had already had some speculations, was not too disappointed. Get up, I'll give it a try. The man with glasses took the initiative to take over the control of the computer. With the crackling sound of keyboard tapping, soon everyone saw a pile of incomprehensible code on the monitor. After struggling for more than 10 minutes, the man with glasses stood up with a pale face and said, "It's a single network. Speak human language." The general manager angrily said. The man with glasses, however, explained nonchalantly. This is a one-way network, which means that you can access it from outside, but you cannot access the outside network here. This computer can only access the local area network, and besides this one, there is also one in a login state. It goes without saying that everyone knows who is controlling that computer. However, since that computer cannot access the internet, everyone is not so concerned. Bai Mingchen silently walked out of the room. The others also followed out. All the curtains were pulled open by him one by one, but without exception, they were all solid walls. Bai Mingchen walked to the entrance and tested the fingerprint lock. After the verification failed, everyone else voluntarily tried one by one. All verifications failed. Even the body was dragged over by the crowd for an attempt. 7 people gathered around the coffee table again. No one spoke, everyone had their own thoughts. After a long time. Do you think what we're going through now is very similar to a real-life version of werewolf killing? Although there is no memory, everyone instantly understood what kill Matt meant. That is to say, we must find the wolf hidden among us in order to end the game. Glasses Man makes a summary. So, should we kill the wolf? What if the wolf's mission is to kill us? The student sister made a guess that made everyone feel even colder. It could also be a room escape. Bai Mingchen's words slightly eased the atmosphere. Everyone understands the fundamental difference between room escape and werewolf killing, one is mutual slaughter, and the other is teamwork. The man with glasses looked around with his eyes. Is this already filled with hidden cameras? Student girl pouted. If I had to play, I would rather play Jedi to survive. The general manager, who had always remained calm, suddenly became irritable. I want to play with you guys. I won't play anymore. After shouting, he rushed to the door of the white-collar woman's bedroom and knocked hard. Crazy woman. Open the door. Get lost. Angry curses came from the room. Grass. I'll give you face. Bang. The general manager kicked the door hard, and the quality of the door was very good. Grass. Bang. Every time the general manager scolds, he always keeps up. In the end, the bedroom door was kicked open after a gruesome groan. The general manager rushed in and the damaged bedroom door was thrown back in. Screams and fighting echoed from the room. The remaining 6 people silently watched this scene. After an unknown amount of time, someone silently chose a bedroom and walked in. The sound of locking the door rang out. As if in tacit agreement, everyone else also chose their own bedroom. Bai Mengchen chose the bedroom closest to the inside. After locking the door, he felt uneasy again. He pushed heavy objects such as sofas and bedside tables inside the house and blocked them behind the door. He collapsed on the bed until there was nothing to move. The bed is very comfortable, but it cannot completely alleviate the gloom in Bai Mengchen's heart. What if it's really a werewolf killing? Although he knew about werewolf killing and the rules, Bai Mengchen knew very well that he had never played before. Is there really a werewolf? But none of them show any signs of being a werewolf. Forget it, I don't want to. The pile of things I've been working on, I'm afraid even the bodybuilder won't want to knock the door open. As long as I don't go out, just drag inside until the game is over. He couldn't think about it anymore, but the constant screams, insults, and groans kept him from calming down. I rushed into the bathroom and took a hot shower. The restless mood has finally calmed down quite a bit. Lie back in bed. Just as he was about to fall asleep, he suddenly realized in shock. If everyone doesn't go out, wouldn't the civilians automatically count as a failure after the game ends? Will they be killed directly if they fail? Bai Mengchen secretly cursed himself as a fool. If it's really werewolf kill, the correct gameplay would be to gather together and uncover the werewolf from various signs. No matter who prepared to design this game, it is absolutely impossible for the game to end so peacefully. Settings like the prophet should also be expressed in an unknown form. Or perhaps werewolves don't even need to enter the door to kill. Think through the white dream dust in the joints and move the heavy objects away one by one. By the time he returned to the living room, the student sister, the killer, and the glasses man were already sitting by the coffee table. Seeing Bai Mengchen come out, the 3 of them exchanged glances and stopped communicating. Seeing the performance of the 3, Bai Mengchen knew that she had been excluded. After secretly scolding himself as a fool again, Bai Mengchen decided to do his best to salvage it. Walk over to the man with glasses and sit down. Can we talk alone? The man with glasses reacted with a hint of surprise, hesitating as he glanced at the other 2 before nodding. The 2 stood up together and entered the man with glasses' room. Kill Matt and the student sister without attempting to stop. The man with glasses took out 2 cans of cola from the refrigerator in the bedroom, threw them to Bai Mengchen, and sat on the sofa. His attitude is very clear. Since it was Bai Mengchen who approached him, he is not prepared to speak first. Bai Mengchen also sat on another sofa and after organizing her language a little, she said. Firstly, I am a good person. Among us, I think Yang Ting, a white-collar woman, and Xiao Jiayin, the general manager, have a high probability of being good people, and their behavior is definitely not what wolves should show. If they are both wolves, I can only say that they are either the dumbest wolves or the smartest wolves. The man with glasses nodded. I agree with your point of view. Knowing that the other party still didn't trust him, Bai Mengchen continued. I know my previous performance may have raised doubts among you. Did any of you 3 just bring up the words I said to ease the atmosphere? The man with glasses once again showed a surprised expression. Seeing his expression made Bai Mengchen more convinced of his judgment. I said that maybe it was an escape from the Chamber of Secrets, but it was really just to ease the atmosphere, not to numb everyone's nerves. I don't want everyone to bring things to an irreversible point. If I'm sure it's a werewolf game and I'm a wolf, why bother saying that statement to raise suspicion? The man with glasses showed a thoughtful expression. Bai Mengchen knew he was about to persuade him and was about to put in more effort. Bang! Although the door was closed, the sound of gunfire was still deafening. Chapter 3. Chaos. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Their first reaction was to lift the sofa and try to block the door. Just as the man with glasses was about to move the sofa to the door, Bai Mengchen stopped him. "No, go out and take a look." Without hesitation, Bai Mengchen opened the door and ran out of the bedroom. After some hesitation, the man with glasses still followed suit. The scene in the white-collar women's room completely stunned Bai Mengchen. The glasses man who was one step late ran to Bai Mengchen's side, with a face that was also greatly shocked. The general manager collapsed naked by the bed. There is a blood hole flowing out of his brain. A pistol was thrown on the floor not far away. The white-collar woman with her hands and feet tied to the bed was looking at the family cook approaching her with a frightened expression on her face. The housewife covered the bare body of a white-collar woman with a blanket. She nervously reached out and caressed the white-collar woman's face. "Don't worry, he can't hurt me anymore. I killed that demon and I'm safe now." Bai Mengchen and the man with glasses exchanged a glance. Bai Mengchen was completely confused. "She's a wolf. Kill her quickly." The screams of the student sister echoed beside the two of them. Bai Mengchen shook his head and said in a deep voice, "She shouldn't be a wolf. Games that cost her life won't expose wolves, that's meaningless." The student sister is not really foolish, she quickly understood Bai Mengchen's words. This is the worst-case scenario, where one good person kills another good person. Bai Mengchen sighed. The student girl pointed to the white-collar woman on the bed and screamed at Bai Mengchen. "You call the person who did such a naughty thing a good person? I think you're sick." Bai Mengchen sneered. "Put away your hypocrisy. Why didn't you stop him from carrying out his bestiality? No one here, including me, is a good person." The student sister was speechless. Other people also entered the room one after another, and only the timid and muscular man refused to enter the room without saying anything. The man with glasses said to Bai Mengchen, "This woman's mental state is clearly problematic, how should we handle it?" Bai Mengchen sighed and said, "Anyway, let's control it first." The housewife was tied up on the bed in various ways. The binding process was not smooth, and the housewife was struggling all along. "I'm not crazy, you guys are all crazy. As you can see, it was he who wanted to rape me that I killed him." This is what the housewife has repeated countless times. No one takes her words seriously. A white-collar woman curled up on the living room sofa wrapped in a blanket. No matter who talks to her, she has no reaction, she just keeps gnawing on her nails on her own. Her beautiful manicure has been gnawed off 4 times. The atmosphere in the living room was quite silent, except for the tea boiling on the coffee table and the teapot, which was rumbling and rolling. The 12 o'clock bell has just sounded, and 4 out of 9 people have already been abandoned. Even the time on the computer is on a 12-hour clock, and no one knows whether it's midnight or noon now. The pistol was placed in the center of the coffee table, and everyone looked at it as if it was a plague that could transmit viruses. Where did the handgun come from? Bai Mengchen asked the question in his heart. Everyone looked at each other in confusion. After a moment, the other 3 weapons were placed on the coffee table. A military dagger, a hammer, and a cantaloupe grenade. This dagger is placed in the bedside table in my room. The student sister said first. This hammer is also in the bedside table in my room. The white-collar woman also revealed the origin of her weapon. The same goes for hand grenades. The handsome man agreed. The crowd dispersed and searched for weapons in each room. On the coffee table, there are 3 additional weapons. Watermelon knives, simple crossbows, and iron chains. Bai Mengchen had an abnormal headache and a hint of impatience appeared in her tone. Everyone is a grasshopper on a rope, can we stop being suspicious of each other? The student girl screamed, and the original clip sound had already disappeared. It's him, he entered a room but didn't bring anything out. The student girl pointed her finger at the healthy and beautiful man. The muscular man suddenly changed his color and defended himself by saying, "When I entered, the weapon in that room was really no longer there. That was his room. He must have discovered the weapon long ago and hid it again. He refers to killing Matt. Really, it's really not me." Kill Matt's face suddenly turned extremely pale, and he weakly defended himself. After staring at the man with glasses, Bai Mengchen felt a severe tightness in her chest. Noticing Bai Mengchen grabbing the hammer on the table, Kill Matt looked at him in horror. "What are you doing? It's really not me hiding it." Bai Mengchen was too lazy to pay attention to Kill Matt and walked around the coffee table towards the entrance door. More than 10 minutes later, the fingerprint lock was completely smashed and the entrance door was also opened. Everyone is once again plunged into deep despair, and behind the door is still a solid wall. Bai Mengchen continued to relentlessly smash the wall, with debris flying over. Until the dense steel bars burst into the air, Bai Mengchen finally stopped panting heavily. Returning to the living room, Bai Mengchen sat on the single sofa, covered in wall ash, rubbing his face repeatedly with his hands. He really wants to calm himself down, but he can't do it no matter what. The voice of the man with glasses rang out. "Many of the settings in this room constantly suggest that we must fight each other and unite to find a way out. Perhaps there is no eighth weapon at all, and perhaps it is just the game designer intentionally inducing us to plant seeds of doubt." As soon as he finished speaking, the muscular man suddenly covered his throat and fell to the ground. White foam kept gushing out of his mouth, and soon it turned back into blood. The crowd looked at the struggling muscular man in shock. "Tea is poisonous." The student sister screamed again. Soon, the healthy and beautiful man stopped struggling. Everyone is looking towards Kill Matt. The frightened expression on Kill Matt's face was heavier than anyone else. "It's not me. It's really not me." He was powerless in his defense. "Ah!" The student sister screamed and grabbed the pistol from the coffee table. Bang! Kill Matt covered his chest and fell down. Bai Mengchen picked up a simple crossbow and aimed at the student girl first. The student girl hurriedly threw the pistol back onto the coffee table. The eighth weapon is definitely poison. Poison must have been given by him. Only he and Wu Yuzheng, a muscular man, have the chance to come into contact with poison. Now that Wu Yuzheng, a muscular man, is dead, the culprit can only be him. He wants to poison us all to win the game. I am doing this for everyone's sake. Bai Mengchen was half kneeling on the ground, holding a crossbow with one hand towards the student girl, while the other hand attempted to block the wound of Kill Matt. But it was useless. Blood foam kept gushing out of Kill Matt's mouth, and his lungs were clearly punctured. Really, it's not me." This is the last sentence spoken by Kill Matt before he breathed his last breath. Grass. Bai Mengchen finally couldn't help but burst out foul language. The left crossbow pointed at the student girl and the man with glasses, and he also picked up the pistol to replace the crossbow. He stuffed the grenade into his pocket. "Don't worry, I'm not a wolf. I'll take care of these weapons." Others looked at him with complex eyes, and no one rushed over with enthusiasm to grab a gun. The dark muzzle of the gun was still very intimidating. Returning to his own room, Bai Mengchen piled up the heavy object again at the door. Unable to fall asleep anymore, Bai Mengchen sat in bed all night. Until exactly 8 o'clock, the purple light in the room suddenly turned into a dazzling white. A wave of dizziness in his mind, Bai Mengchen fainted on the bed. In the living room. The middle-aged man in the checkered pattern who initially died suddenly stood up trembling. He first stretched a long lazy waist, and the prolonged stiffness made all his bones make a crisp sound. Pop 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 pop. Applause rang out in the empty living room. "It's quite exciting, but only 3 people died, it's a bit unpleasant. Judging from this situation, we need to arrange a big scene for the next game." Chapter 4. Reality or dreams? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bai Mingchen, who was completely awakened, looked at the familiar ceiling. Fortunately, it was a dream. After habitually rubbing his face a few times, Bai Mingchen got out of bed and entered the bathroom. The cold water cleared his mind a bit. Dingling, dingling. 2 consecutive text message prompts came from the phone. Bai Mingchen took out his phone and looked at it. The phone slid into the pool and was constantly washed away by tap water. The text message content is clearly reflected on the still-lit display screen. Divide the text message into 2 parts. 8.05, online transfer deposit of 300,000 yuan, with a card balance of 300,000 yuan. 8.05. Completed loan repayment transaction of 300,000 yuan, with an outstanding amount of 17,600,500 yuan. Bai Mingchen's mind was very chaotic, and subconsciously he always felt that this 300,000 yuan was related to that dream. Retrieve the phone from the water. Wipe the phone clean with a towel and turn it off. Dobby hasn't paid off his debt yet, so he doesn't have the money to buy a new phone. The phone was left on the only windowsill in the single apartment. Is it really related to dreams? Despite the thought of a headache, Bai Mingchen couldn't figure it out. After much consideration, Bai Mingchen walked out of the apartment. Walk into a small internet cafe on the street corner. Bai Mingchen took out 10 yuan and placed it on the bar. Give me a temporary card. The bartender looked at him disdainfully, realizing that there are too few people who still use cash these days. Quickly, a note with the account password written on it was handed over. Taking the note, Bai Mingchen chose the cheapest internet access area. Enter the card number and password to log in. Enter the name Xiao Jiayin, General Manager, in the search engine. The first thing that caught my eye made Bai Mingchen's heart beat faster. General Manager of Shanyang Construction Company, Xiao Jiayin, the leader of the underworld, is still a legitimate entrepreneur. Clicking on the link, the first displayed photo made Bai Mingchen's heart sink. The man in a suit and leather shoes in the photo doesn't look like the general manager. Bai Mingchen let out a low curse and continued to review the following article. The article only briefly explains that Xiao Jiayin was sued by migrant workers in court, suspected of relying on black forces to use threats and other means to persuade migrant workers to withdraw the lawsuit. Copied the full name of Shanyang Construction Company and searched again. Bai Mingchen went to the bar and borrowed a pen, and he took down the company address and phone number in detail. The general manager's company is located in the city where Bai Mingchen is located. After transferring the bus twice, Bai Mingchen arrived downstairs at Shanyang Company. This is a 12-story office building. Take the elevator to the 8th floor. The front desk welcomed the guests with a smile. Hello, sir. Facing Bai Mingchen, who was dressed in plain clothes, the welcoming lady did not show his usual disdainful expression, which also gave Bai Mingchen a little more favor towards her. Hello, may I ask if the Chiao family seal is available? Mr. Chiao hasn't come yet, why don't you call him first? My phone fell into the water, could you please help me contact him? Okay, may I ask what you should call me? What can I do to find Mr. Chiao? My name is Bai Mingchen, just tell him my name. Ingbin took out his phone and dialed out. Bai Mingchen secretly took note of the phone number dialed by the welcoming guests. After a moment, welcome guests and put down their phones. Mr. Bai, Mr. Chiao's phone has turned off, but there will be a meeting that he needs to preside over soon. He should be on his way to the company. How about you wait for him first? A sturdy young man with a big arm and a round waist ran quickly to the elevator. He quickly pressed the elevator button while shouting to the welcoming woman. Xiao Zhou, Jiayin brother has an accident. Please inform today's attendees that the meeting will be cancelled. Bai Mingchen's heart thumped as he reached out and grabbed the young man, asking. What's wrong with Xiao Jiayin? The young man looked at Bai Mingchen in confusion. Who are you? I am a friend of Xiao Jiayin's hometown, what's wrong with him? The young man's face showed a hint of surprise. Hey, forget it, you can come with me. After speaking, he turned to the still stunned welcoming Zhou. What are you staring at? Hurry up and get things done. Oh, good Mr. Fong, I'll go right away. A BMW 7 Series rushed out of an underground garage. Why haven't I heard Jiayin mention you? Mr. Fong frequently controls the steering wheel while asking Bai Mengchen, the co-pilot. We haven't seen each other for many years. What's wrong with Xiao Jiayin? I don't know the specifics either. The police just called me and asked me to go and identify the body. Bai Mengchen's heart was heavy, and the last bit of fantasy was shattered. It was not just a simple dream after all. Bai Mengchen no longer remembers how many traffic lights the BMW passed. BMW drove into a hospital in the famous wealthy district of this city. 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Bai Mengchen returned to his rented house. The gun hole on the head of the general manager is still vividly visible. As a stranger who jumped out of nowhere but had connections with the deceased, he was taken to the police station for questioning. The Chiao family was shot in the head in their own locked house, with no signs of being broken into. The murder weapon was even more unknown, and the police faced such cases with a headache. From getting up to now, Bai Mengchen has only bought 2 deep-fried dough sticks at a roadside stall after leaving the internet cafe. But now he doesn't feel any hunger at all. The fact that happened these 2 days is too bizarre. He felt like he was being held in the heart of a huge black hand, and as long as the black hand exerted a slight force, he would break to pieces. He once wanted to tell the truth to the police, but after much consideration, he still held back. This kind of excuse from my hometown friend is obviously useless in the police. He had to lie again, saying that he had friends working with the general manager, but the general manager did not pay him a salary. He went to seek his salary, afraid that the general manager would not dare to see him, so he falsely claimed to be a friend of the general manager. When the police asked him what his friend's name was, Bai Mengchen, whose mind was in chaos, once again made a mistake. The name he said was Wu Yuzheng. After checking the files on the computer, the police pinned him to the ground and handcuffed him. Later, the police responsible for Wu Yuzheng's poisoning case rushed over and finally cleared his suspicion. Wu Yuzheng was originally in this city, but he was poisoned to death in another city. Then the police went to the internet cafe and bus company that Bai Mengchen confessed to and retrieved surveillance footage. In addition, with Bai Mengchen's identity as a bankrupt debtor, he has absolutely no criminal time. Forget it, let's go to the internet cafe tomorrow and check the information of the remaining few people. After making up his mind, Bai Mengchen lay down on the bed, but no matter what, he couldn't sleep. After being abducted from the apartment, I woke up and returned to the apartment. It was obvious that the apartment was no longer safe. But Bai Mengchen, who was shy in his pocket, had nowhere to go. There is actually another reason why he didn't leave, it's just that he himself doesn't want to admit that reason. The sun was completely covered by the horizon, and the rental house was pitch black. Bai Mengchen, who had not fallen asleep, did not turn on the light. But when the time reached 7:30, the lights on the ceiling emitted a bright white light autonomously. He was not unconscious, but after a flash of strong light in front of him, Bai Mengchen appeared on a square. On the ground around, dozens of men, women, and men scattered haphazardly. Almost all of those people fell into a deep sleep. Only 5 people were standing in the entire square, and the other 4 people Bai Mengchen knew all of them. Chapter 5. Games. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 4 out of 5 people spontaneously gathered together. Only the family cook was hiding far away from the crowd at the other end of the square. The white-collar woman, dressed in a black dress, shook her long hair as she looked dejected the night before washing. "Oh, handsome Bai, I thought you couldn't help but commit suicide in your room last night." The man with glasses waved his hand to stop the white-collar woman who wanted to continue teasing Bai Mengchen. He glanced at the clock tower at 7:33 in the distance and said, "You should already know that this is not a dream. Don't try to find other people's information, it will only bring you disaster." An angry expression appeared on Bai Mengchen's face. "Are you all wolves?" The voice of the student girl has reverted back to a pincer sound. "It seems that you still don't understand. In fact, there are no wolves, no werewolves to kill, and we can all be said to be wolves." Bai Mengchen frowned. "What does it mean?" The glasses man pushed his glasses and said, "What she means is that we, like you, have all lost our memory. Everything that happened last night was just caused by the darkness within us being ignited." Bai Mengchen's eyebrows remained tightly furrowed together. "Are you saying that we don't really need to kill each other?" "Yes, according to previous game participants, the only way out of this game is for everyone to survive at the end of the game. Let's discuss before we start." Bai Mengchen stopped. The white-collar woman let out a long and coquettish smile. "It seems like you're not too stupid either. You're right, we'll all lose memory again after the game starts at 8 o'clock. Bai Mengchen looked around and pointed to the person who had fallen to the ground, asking, "Who are these people then?" After estimating the approximate number of people, the glasses man replied, "They are the new game participants added today, with a minimum of 8 people for each new game. No matter how many people died in the previous game, they will be added next time until the last 8. The white-collar woman once again gave a coquettish smile. "Today can be considered a big profit. There should be 110 people in this population. Only 3 died yesterday. Damn it, if you buy a bag for 300,000, it will be gone." The student girl's focus is somewhat different. She looked at the large transport plane not far away and exclaimed excitedly, "I only said yesterday that I wanted to play Jedi to survive, but I'm coming soon today. Today, I'm going to kill all directions, by Yubi. As she spoke, she posed as if holding a gun and shooting. Bai Mengyun was puzzled. "Didn't 4 of them die?" Glassy man shakes his head. "At first, the deceased should have been an observer, and it was also my first time experiencing an observer participating in a game. I had only heard of their existence among other game participants before." Bai Mengchen took out the note from his pocket that marked down the address today. Then he began to search around and soon found an eyebrow pencil in the pocket of an unconscious woman. Watching Bai Mengchen write on the note, the other 3 did not stop him. Bai Mengchen put a note in his pocket with the words, "As long as we stop everyone from killing, we can win. It's useless, there will always be someone who is unwilling to quit the game to disrupt all your plans, just like her." The man with glasses pointed at the white-collar woman and said to Bai Mengchen. Bai Mengchen became a bit angry. "Why do you decide others' lives based on your own likes and dislikes?" The white-collar woman showed a seductive expression and lifted Bai Mengchen's chin with just one finger. "Little handsome guy, don't die so fast. I'm looking forward to something happening with you. Yesterday, that person surnamed Xiao was just an embroidered pillow with a strong exterior but weak interior. Don't be as useless as him, you delicate and tender." Bai Mengchen felt a chill and waved her hand off, causing the white-collar woman to turn around and leave. The man with glasses turned around and asked the white-collar woman, "Yesterday's awakening object should be a computer, right?" He, guess what? White-collar women are getting farther and farther away." The man with glasses shook his head and sighed. "This crazy woman." Bai Mengchen grasped the key point in his words. "What is an awakened object?" The person explaining this is the student sister. "It is something that can awaken memory. Every time in the game, there will be an item that can help the first person touch it restore memory. The item is random, it may be a phone, a gun, or a pack of cookies. Has anyone successfully left the game before?" Glassy man shakes his head. I don't know, I haven't heard of it since I entered this game. How many times have you participated? This is the 49th time. Chu Mengyun took a cold breath. I've done it 14 times. The student girl said with a hint of pride, don't underestimate this guy, she's not a good match. The man with glasses paid no attention to speaking ill of his student sister in front of her. The student girl made a face at the man with glasses. It's okay to say that you did the poison yesterday, right? This was also Bai Mengyun's biggest doubt the day before, and he looked at the man with glasses with a burning gaze. That's right, it's me. The man with glasses admitted generously. When did you get the poison? After you heard the gunshot and left the room, my weapon was an iron chain. It was too difficult to kill, so I decided to give up my weapon. Fortunately, I was the first to enter Su Weiyun's room. Unfortunately, I had a chance to poison all of you. The student girl raised her small waist. Humph, bad guy. After speaking, she also left, leaving only Bai Mengchen and Glasses Man in the center of the square. Why was I chosen to enter this game? Does everyone chosen to enter here have the same reason? The man with glasses spoke very ambiguously, and Bai Mengchen understood that he was clearly not prepared to tell himself the specific reason for what he said. Why tell me so much? I don't know anything, it's more advantageous for you, isn't it? The man with glasses gave him a meaningful glance, then turned around and left, saying, every game participant has an obligation to pass on information, and I hope you can help me safely get through the game after a certain awakening by reminding me to share so many things with you. Oh, by the way, be careful of that lunatic. The first time I played this game, a participant who had survived over 100 games told me that she had been there all along. The finger pointing of the man with glasses is the location of the household cook. Less than 10 minutes have passed since the arrival of 8 o'clock, Bai Mengchen sets aside all her thoughts and silently waits for the start of the game. At exactly 8 o'clock, a strong white light lit up above the square. Bai Mengchen, who had just opened his eyes, was kicked off the plane by someone. Bai Mengchen was horrified beyond measure. I am falling rapidly towards the earth. He couldn't hear any other sound as the strong wind blew. There was a man not far below, whose frightened and open mouth indicated that he was screaming. The panic made Bai Mengchen unconsciously grasp his hands in the air, as if he would grab a life-saving rope the next second. The wind was so loud that Bai Mengchen couldn't hear his screams at all. Flipping in the air, Bai Mengchen didn't know how long he had been falling, only the terrifying black earth was getting closer and closer to him. Thinking gradually returned to his head. Strive to maintain balance in the air. Seeing several parachutes opened under her body, Bai Mengchen panicked and groped on her body. The touch of the lock made him feel a little relieved, and the next second the parachute was opened. Chapter 6. Injury. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bai Mengchen drifted in the air for about 5 minutes. But he was still grateful because he saw at least 2 people who had not opened their parachutes. Compared to them, at least I wouldn't just throw myself into a pulp. As the earth approached, Bai Mengchen, who had never jumped an umbrella, became nervous. I had always hoped to be down to earth, but when the earth was really close to me, he felt that the speed of landing was too fast. When it was time to land, due to excessive tension, the hand holding the stable rope exerted too much force. The parachute tilted sharply. Bai Mengchen ran a few steps in the direction of the umbrella and fell. The parachute dragged him out for a few meters before coming to a complete stop. Bai Mengchen moaned on the ground for 7 or 8 minutes before reluctantly turning around and sitting up. Rolling up his pants legs, the sharp scratches on his calves made him gasp for air. A startled cry came from the air. Bai Mengchen was attracted by the sound and looked up into the sky. A young girl with a pair of ponytails hanging down her waist swiped over his head. If Bai Mengchen was standing, she would definitely kick him. Bai Mengchen turned her head to look, and the girl skillfully landed and ran a few steps before stopping steadily. She patted her small chest and said, I almost bumped into someone, it scared me to death. Hello, who are you and where is this? Bai Mingchen was a bit confused. Me. My name is Bai Mingchen. Where is this place? I don't know. The eyebrows with double ponytails wrinkle beautifully. Strange, why don't I remember anything except my own name? Bai Mingchen was surprised that she was just like herself. Me too, I can't remember anything except the name. She skillfully untied the parachute buckle with double ponytails and squatted down in front of Bai Mingchen. How did you get hurt? I can't parachute, why are you so skilled? The two ponytails showed a thoughtful expression. I don't know, I just find it very exciting, but it's not that exciting. I think wing-mounted flying is more fun. What's your name? Shi Jiameng, what about you? Oh, by the way, you said it, your name is Bai Mingchen. Double ponytails turned to look at a house not far away. Let's go inside and ask where this is. After looking at Bai Mingchen's leg injury again, she continued to say. Do you need any help? Bai Mingchen smiled bitterly. Thank you, it may be necessary. Don't be fooled by the small stature with double ponytails, but their strength is really not small. With her help, the two of them arrived at the two-story small building. Wearing Bai Mingchen's double ponytails, he knocked on the door. Is anyone there? There is no response in the house. After calling out a few more times, there was still no response. It seems like there's no one around. As she spoke, she went and twisted the door handle. The door creaked open. Will this be bad? What's wrong with you? You're injured and we need help. We'll just reward them after our memory is restored. Bai Mingchen was not a pedant either, so he immediately took the initiative to walk into the room. As soon as they entered the room, they saw an M4A1 rifle on the coffee table in the living room. There are 2 boxes of bullets on the table, and an empty magazine is placed next to the rifle. This family doesn't seem easy, let's leave. It's okay, bad guys are here, I'll protect you. After helping Bai Mingchen sit down on the sofa, he ran towards the bedroom with his ponytails. Wait here for a while, I'll go find if there's any medicine. Bai Mingchen picked up the rifle from the coffee table and skillfully opened the barrel to take a look. The bullet has been loaded. Remove the magazine again and check, the magazine is full. The startled sound of double ponytails came from the direction of the bedroom. What's wrong? It's nothing, I'll tell you later. Not long after, the 2 ponytails ran out of the bedroom holding a pile of things. She placed everything on the coffee table. Why are you bringing out a frying pan? Bai Mingchen asked her own doubts. Double ponytails picked up the shiny flat-bottomed pot and flipped it back and forth to look at it. Curious, this pot is right on the bed. I'm just curious who would put the pot on the bed. After speaking, she hung the frying pan on her belt, which perfectly covered her little buttocks. Are you handsome or not? The double ponytails flaunted as if spinning in place twice. Handsome, handsome. Bai Mingchen was dealing with her while picking up the trauma spray from the coffee table. This spray has a remarkable effect. Within a few seconds of spraying, the pain in the wound completely disappeared. Isn't morphine added to this medicine? Bai Mingchen was puzzled. What is morphine? If you don't understand, then ask is the life philosophy that Shuang Mawei has always adhered to. It's an anesthetic and also a drug. Oh. The attention of the 2 ponytails shifted to a military dagger. Wrap all your wounds with the bandage found in the double ponytails. Bai Mingchen stood up and moved his legs, and the pain completely disappeared. The effect is really good. He couldn't help but marvel at the miraculous efficacy of the medicine. Since the door of this house is open, the owner should be nearby. Let's go out and look for it. Okay. Suddenly, gunshots could be heard not far away. Bai Mingchen changed color in shock, grabbed his rifle, and ran upstairs with his double ponytails. On the second floor, they immediately saw a pistol and a box of bullets on the living room table. Bai Mingchen picked up the pistol and checked if the magazine was full, then directly stuffed the pistol into the hands of Shuang Mateo. Bai Mingchen squatted alone to the balcony window. Be careful to poke your head out and look outside. A few hundred meters away, a man ran frantically towards the small building. In the distance behind him, there is a woman in black holding an AK aiming. Duh. After the woman ejaculated 3 times, the man fell into a pool of blood. As the woman gradually approached, Bai Mingchen also gradually saw her appearance. A white-collar woman. According to a woman's temperament, a name comes to mind and gives him a familiar feeling. The 2 ponytails, who were also looking out of the window with both hands, showed a look of fear in their eyes. Let's call the police. Yes, alarm. Bai Mingchen quickly went to touch his pocket, but he only found 2 pieces of paper, one big and one small. The big paper was a stacked map, and the words on the small note left him a little stunned. Searching for the fruitless twin ponytails on his phone, he also looked helplessly at Bai Mingchen with a map in his hand. Noticing that the pistol was not in her hand. Hurry up and get the pistol. But the 2 ponytails were already frightened and their legs were weak, and they still stared blankly at Bai Mingchen. Bai Mingchen glanced outside again from the window, and the white-collar woman was approaching 100 meters away. Her goal was obviously to enter the small building. Bai Mingchen pushed out a crack in the window and aimed his rifle at the white-collar woman. The content on the note made him hesitate, not to mention his inexplicable familiarity with white-collar women. Bang! A bullet hit the foot of a white-collar woman. The white-collar woman quickly fell to the ground, and a string of bullets rained wildly in the direction of the small building. As the white-collar woman raised her gun, Bai Mingchen had already crouched behind the wall with her double ponytails. Wow! The glass on the balcony is mostly broken, fortunately these are all tempered glass, and the fragments are all slag. Otherwise, Bai Mingchen and Shuang Maowei would be in big trouble. Chapter 7. You can no longer torture me. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Bai Mingchen still squatted behind the wall, and he raised his gun with his back hand and randomly shot outside a few times. The gunfire outside stopped, and it was unclear whether the opponent's magazine had emptied or fled. After changing positions, Bai Mingchen once again looked in. The roar of the engine sounded as an off-road vehicle rushed towards the distance. Watching the off-road journey gradually fade away, Bai Mingchen breathed a sigh of relief and looked towards the double ponytails. Her double ponytails still held her head and crouched down, her body trembling strongly. It's okay, she has already run away. Although Bai Mingchen himself was also extremely nervous, he still spoke out to comfort the 2 ponytails. Where exactly is this? I want to go home. The sound of double ponytails carries a crying tone. Suddenly, there was another explosion coming from a distance, and the sound was definitely not from a white-collar woman. Grass, what's going on? Is the world in chaos? Bai Mingchen wanted to curse his mother. Bai Mingchen, can you take me home? I'm really scared. The eyes with double ponytails were filled with a pleading expression. Don't worry, I will definitely take you home. Although Bai Mingchen also feels helpless, having a companion is always better than having someone bear it. Scattered gunshots came from another direction. Bai Mingchen climbed to the edge of the sofa, picked up the backpack from the sofa, and threw it to Shuang Ponytails. You go collect the weapons and supplies, and I'll keep an eye on you. Despite being very scared, Shuang Mateo eventually obediently went to collect supplies. The pistol bullets on the table are 5.56 bullets that are compatible with rifles. Bai Mingchen observed outside the window while reloading the bullets. Not long after, the 2 ponytails ran back. She had already packed a lot of things in her backpack, and she still held something in her hand. Ming Chen, I don't know this thing, do you know if it's useful? Bai Ming Chen took the thing and directly stuck it on the gun. This is a direct view optical sight, which can magnify 1.5 to 6 times. You can also call it a magnifying glass. While explaining, Bai Ming Chen adjusted the scope to 4x. Ming Chen, how did you know about this? Bai Ming Chen stopped his movements and felt a bit dazed. I don't know, maybe it's muscle memory, just like how you can jump proficiently. Then you must be a special forces soldier. Bai Ming Chen shook his head and suddenly heard an air raid alarm outside. Is it really going to cause chaos in the world? The feeling of knowing nothing made Bai Ming Chen a little crazy. 1 minute after the air raid warning sounded, a clear female voice echoed through the sky. Attention players, the non-safe zone will be bombed in 20 minutes. The safe zone range is now reported as 2.B to 2.W, and 38.B to 38.W. Please move to the safe zone as soon as possible. The broadcast was repeated 3 times in a row. Surviving the Jedi. A game name naturally entered Bai Ming Chen's mind. Bai Ming Chen picked up a pen from the coffee table and drew the safe zone on the map. After finishing the painting, Bai Ming Chen made another mistake. But how do I know where I am now? What if I'm in a bombing zone? Let's go quickly. We must find the iconic building or signboard to determine our location. The double ponytails obediently put on their backpack and nodded. The small note in his pocket was pulled out by Bai Ming Chen, and after a last glance, the note was twisted into a ball of paper and fell to the ground. The two of them ran along the road. 5 minutes later, they saw the first signboard. Compared to the map, this road is partially in the bombing zone and partially in the safe zone. There is a 3-wheeled road sign next to it, and the car key is casually inserted on it. How could you manage so much? Both of them got into the car. Bai Ming Chen put on the gear and turned the accelerator all the way down. After a roar from the third wheel, it rushed out. They soon arrived at a crossroads. After comparing the road signs, the double ponytails sitting in the car bucket exclaimed, Ming Chen, turn right. We've been running in the bombing zone all along. Bai Ming Chen fiercely turned the steering wheel, causing the 3 wheels to race on the road. Bai Ming Chen wished he could install a rocket booster on the eccentric tricycle. A few minutes later, there was a loud roar of airplanes in the sky. Bai Ming Chen turned his head and looked at the sky behind him. I don't know how many bombers are flying in his direction in unison. I see the plane catching up with them soon. Dense bombs rained down from the bottom of the plane. The whistling sound of a bomb falling sounded as heartwarming as a deadly horn. Chow Nima. Do you need such a big battle? This is the first time I know how precious my life is. Bai Ming Chen suddenly parked the car on the roadside. Leaping into the roadside ditch with her double ponytails pulled, Bai Ming Chen pressed her whole body under her body to protect her tightly. Although I know it's useless. A deafening dense explosion sounded. Bai Ming Chen stubbornly lifted his head, his eyes full of unwillingness as he watched the firewall get closer and closer. All the bombs dropped by the plane were incendiary bombs. The firewall came to a sudden stop 3 meters away from the two people. The high walls of fire reflect the entire world in fiery red. Bai Ming Chen couldn't help but feel that this scene was too beautiful and shocking. Oxygen is rapidly consumed due to the burning of flames. Soon, Bai Ming Chen realized that he could no longer breathe. The conflicted beauty and death pressed against him. When he felt like he was about to suffocate, the fiery redness in the sky suddenly disappeared, and the flames quickly shrank and extinguished like a miracle. The two of them flipped over and lay down, greedily breathing heavily. When the two of them got up, the flames had completely extinguished. What is left for them is the boundless scorched earth. On the other side are contiguous green wheat fields. Form a strong contrast on both sides based on a single line. Let's go, if you're not mistaken, the bombing zone will expand again. Watching the bomber fly away, Bai Mengchen's eyes remained firm. We must survive no matter what. At the same time, on the other side of the battlefield, the family cook knelt in front of a pickup truck, crying bitterly. Surrounded by 4 men with live ammunition, they looked at her jokingly. Please don't kill me. I have a lot of food and drink in my car, all for you. Please spare my life. The housewife was desperately kowtowing and begging for mercy, her voice pitiful to the extreme. Blood even oozed from her forehead, and her wide robe was almost entirely spread on the ground. One of the men took 2 steps forward with a cheap smile. I don't know why you came into this eerie world. You're pretty, but things are unpredictable. Why don't you let our brothers have a good time? Once you're done, go wherever you like. The family cook lying on the ground trembled violently. Suddenly, flames of death erupted from the sleeve of her right hand, which she was lying on. 3 men were directly beaten into sieves. The man who was still alive changed his color in shock. He never expected that this seemingly harmless woman would suddenly make a fuss. Just as he panicked and took down the rifle behind him, the family cook suddenly got up, stood up, and at the same time, the pistol hidden in her left sleeve fired fiercely. 4 consecutive precise shots hit the joints of the man's limbs. The man was propelled up by the kinetic energy of the bullet and fell to the ground. The cries of pain spread far and wide on the road. The submachine gun with empty bullets fell from the wide-sleeved robe to the ground. The household cook has an extra dagger in her right hand. Her face had already changed into a neurotic smile. You can't torture me anymore. The howling man continued to emit higher-pitched screams. Chapter 8. Flat-Bottomed Pot. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A man and a woman walk in a knee-high field. The double ponytail girl carrying a backpack asked a question in her heart. Mengchen, why do we have to abandon motorcycles and walk? Bai Mengchen kept under his feet and patiently replied. Riding that thing on the road is really eye-catching. I just heard the sound of a sniper rifle. In case of an attack, riding that thing would be a live target. Oh. Bang, ouch. The sound of the gun followed closely. At the same time as Bai Mengchen fell with his 2 ponytails, he quickly lay down in the wheat field. How are you? Something hit the pan. I'm fine, I was just startled. Bai Mengchen breathed a sigh of relief. Bang. Bang. The gunshots kept ringing, revealing the attacker's position, but the bullet's landing point became increasingly outrageous. The first shot that hit the frying pan was only the attacker's luck, but also his sorrow. Analyze Bai Mengchen's poor marksmanship and quickly squat up to perform a standard tactical move. In the sight glass, on the top of the electric windmill 200 meters away, lies a person shooting. After taking a slight aim, the gun rang out. In the sight glass, the person's head burst into a red mist like a ripe watermelon. It's okay. There was a slight tremble in Bai Mengchen's voice. The first murder made him feel a wave of palpitations and nausea. I noticed that Bai Mengchen's face was very bad, and his 2 ponytails nervously pulled on him. Brother, what's wrong with you? Did you get shot? Bai Mengchen shook his head. I'm fine. When we passed by just now, the door of the windmill was clearly locked. How did that person get in? Thinking of the exploding head, Bai Mengchen felt a wave of nausea. When he came, he probably didn't lock it. After confirming that Bai Mengchen was fine, Xuan Maowei took off the flat-bottomed pot from his body and still looked at the bullet marks on it with lingering fear. Keep going. Double ponytails followed behind Bai Mengchen, and she treated the frying pan as a treasure, repeatedly checking it over and over again. Bai Mengchen turned her head and saw the double ponytails moving the pan back and forth between her 2 fried eggs. If only there were 2. The words with double ponytails made him feel dizzy. Believe me, you're not that big. Where are you going? What I mean is to put one in the front and one in the back. Bai Mengchen turned around and focused on his journey. Hee, all right. Bai Mengchen couldn't help but turn his head and look again. The double ponytails still tied the frying pan to the chest with bandages, and the 2 poached eggs were perfectly hidden behind the pan. Mengchen, do you have a girlfriend? The double ponytails that began to run parallel with Bai Mengchen suddenly burst out with such a sentence without any end. Looking at the delicate face with twin ponytails, Bai Mengchen's mind outlined the other person's 3 no-body figures, both flat in front and flat in back. At present, Bai Mengchen has no plans to become a higher brother with anyone. No, but I'm not ready to find a partner yet. Oh, are you gay? This girl's brain circuit was really a bit overwhelming for Bai Mengchen, so she turned her head and ignored her. Mengchen, look, there's a house ahead. Let's go see if there's still a frying pan. Bai Mengchen also saw the distant barn. Although there were no windows on the side of the barn, and they happened to be right on the side of the barn, Bai Mengchen still dared not be careless. He lowered his body slightly and lifted his rifle to his chest. Seeing Bai Mengchen's posture, the 2 ponytails became serious, and they quickly approached the barn one in front of the other. His back was tightly pressed against the wall, and Bai Mengchen slowly rubbed against the door in front of the barn. Quick Probe glanced and quickly withdrew. The front door of the barn was open, and there was no one at the door. Slowly move again to the edge of the barn door. The nervousness displayed by Bai Mengchen made the breathing of both ponytails much tighter. With one hand, he took out a glittering bullet from his double ponytail backpack, bit off the safety, and threw it into the barn. Bang! Holding a gun and quickly entering the barn, Bai Mengchen breathed a sigh of relief after looking around 360 degrees. Is it because my nerves are too nervous? Bai Mengchen smiled self-deprecatingly. Ah, there is indeed a pan. Double ponytails quickly ran towards the flat-bottomed pot on the ground in the center of the barn. Bang! Suddenly, gunshots could be heard from an aluminum cabinet in front of the double ponytails. Double ponytails fell to the ground in response. Bai Mengchen instinctively lifted his rifle and fired wildly at the cabinet. He didn't stop until the magazine was completely emptied. Running to the side of Xuan Ma Wei, there was another bullet mark in the center of the frying pan. The double ponytails were knocked unconscious by kinetic energy. Even Bai Mengchen couldn't help but feel fortunate for her double ponytails. Looking up, I saw the blood continuously flowing out from the bottom of the cabinet, and the 5 flavors of Bai Mengchen mixed together. He has already killed 2 people in a short period of time. But he, who had faced death in previous airstrikes, did not feel particularly uneasy in his heart. Take out a bottle of pure water from the double ponytail backpack and twist it open. Pouring clean water on the face woke up the 2 ponytails. Cough 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 ouch, the 2 ponytails that woke up let out a moan. I looked around with confusion in my eyes. Brother, what's wrong with me? Your pot saved your life again. Stroking the newly added bullet marks on the flat-bottomed pot, the 2 ponytails and eyes were full of energy. Bai Mengchen didn't take care of her and searched for her in the warehouse on his own. The bulletproof vest on a grain stack surprised Bai Mengchen exceptionally. Double ponytail said she only needed a frying pan, and her bulletproof vest was draped over Bai Mengchen's body. After putting on his bulletproof vest, his heart finally became more secure. When the 2 of them left the warehouse, they each carried a full backpack. The backpack hit the surface of the frying pan on her little buttocks, constantly making a metallic collision sound. The sound made Bai Mengchen frown and look sideways. Along the way, they bypassed the area with gunshots and their equipment became increasingly complete. Bai Mengchen also had an extra spare rifle on his back and a spray gun stuck around his waist. The current double ponytail is like a moving wind chime, ringing all over, and I don't know how many flat-bottomed pots are hanging. Even the bulletproof helmet has 2 frying pans hanging on both sides. I said, don't you think it's heavy? It's not heavy, that's the only way it's safe. The panting double ponytails were still hard on the lips. Despite being hard-lipped and physically honest, the submachine gun in the hands of the two ponytails was covered in sweat. Brother, could you help me hold the gun? Do your own thing. Bai Mingchen was too lazy to pay attention to her. The small mouth with double ponytails pouted high. As he was speaking, a small village ahead gradually came into view. The village was unusually quiet, and the two had not heard gunshots for a long time. Glancing at Shuang Mateo, Bai Mingchen quickened his pace and headed towards the village to touch it. As the distance drew closer, Bai Mingchen became increasingly nervous. The hands holding the rifle gradually became stiff, and sweat involuntarily flowed out of the palms. The noise from the flat-bottomed pot covered in double ponytails also annoyed him. The possibility of finding shelter in the village made him strongly want to go inside and explore. Just as the two were less than 200 meters away from the nearest house, a girl dressed as a student girl ran out of the village cheering. Chapter 9. Second Bombing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This translator is experiencing an error, please try another translator. Chapter 10. I have no malicious intention. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Don't worry about whether the pistol stuck in the back of your head will ring. Bai Mingchen threw away his rifle and quickly carried his two ponytails through the thin smoke. After a slight moment of confusion, the student sister who had come to react later ran over two people to the other end of the village. The current Bai Mingchen's mood is extremely complex. He is grateful for the double ponytails and the flat-bottomed pot that saved his life, but also hates the weight represented by that pile of flat-bottomed pots. Although his physical strength is already considered excellent among ordinary people, the originally light double ponytails, along with the pile of pans and her full backpack, have really put a great burden on him. I don't know how this girl persisted so far with this pile of things on her back. Ah! Bai Mingchen roared and used all his strength to make the final sprint. Bai Mingchen, who was already injured, exhausted his last bit of strength and fell to the ground. Lying on her back, Bai Mingchen looked at the densely packed bombs that had been thrown out of the plane's belly. She could only pray that the two of her were in a safe zone. Taking a few deep breaths, he was ready to hold his breath, but then he stared blankly at the countless silver bombs exploding in mid-air. One by one, huge bombs exploded into dense silver-white light that slowly descended, beautiful to the extreme. The sky started to rain with silver light. The loud explosion made Bai Mingchen temporarily deaf. Although the bombs continued to explode one after another, his entire world turned into a dead silence. Your grandfather, the international community has banned white phosphorus bombs. There is no humanitarian spirit at all. The adrenaline-surging white dream dust dragged its legs with ponytails and crawled out for more than 10 meters. The tragic situation of being hit by a white phosphorus bomb in rumors filled his heart with fear. He would rather be instantly burned to ashes by an incendiary bomb than be exposed to any white phosphorus bomb. Until the white light fell to the ground, Bai Mingchen collapsed to the ground. Although the two of them had originally fallen in a safe area, Bai Mingchen did not believe that he was unnecessary. After sitting for 7 or 8 minutes, both ears finally regained their hearing. Bai Mingchen looked at the off-road vehicle parked near the road. Previously, there were two identical off-road vehicles parked there. The student girl who took the first step has already driven away a car. Out of caution, Bai Mingchen took off the spare rifle from behind and slowly approached the side of the car, looking inside close to the glass covered with sunscreen. There is no one in the car. Opening the car door, I found that the car key was indeed on top. Driving to the side of Shuang Mateo, Bai Mingchen struggled to drag her onto the back seat. According to the first 2 rounds of reduction in the safe zone, it can be inferred that after 2 more bombings, the map will only have a very small central area as the safe zone. All the survivors on the map will also gather there, and by then, the situation will be chaotic to an unknown extent. Bai Mingchen is preparing to arrive there before the next bombing. Everything here is so unreasonable. There were at least a few thousand bombers in the sky, which was just within his line of sight. Although there is no memory, it does not delay Bai Mingchen's understanding that there is no country in the world with such military strength. He doesn't know how many survivors there are on this map. But according to the game rules of survival for the Jedi, in my impression, there should be 100 people in the entire area. Being able to seize advantageous terrain at the center is always a way to gain some advantage. After driving for about 20 minutes, the double ponytail slowly woke up and turned around. Although the trauma spray has miraculous effects, it may be due to excessive blood loss that the double ponytails still appear weak. How is it? Does the wound hurt? Leaning against the rear door with a pale expression on both ponytails. It doesn't hurt much, it's just that I feel weak all over and my head is quite dizzy. Looking at Bai Mingchen driving ahead, after hesitating for a moment, he still spoke up and asked. Why are you so foolish? We just met today. Although Bai Mingchen knew he couldn't see it, the two ponytails still gave a faint smile. I don't know either. I didn't have time to think about anything at the time, I just didn't want you to die. During the first bombing, you didn't hesitate to protect me, did you? What were you doing for? Bai Mingchen fell silent. Only he himself knew that at the beginning, he just didn't want to be alone in this unfamiliar world. Just because the double ponytails were too small, it was obviously unrealistic to use her to protect himself, so he was able to protect her without hesitation. Although he originally intended to protect this girl, if he really faced a moment that threatened his life, his previous self would definitely not hesitate to abandon this girl. But after the previous events, it was completely different. He secretly tightened the steering wheel in his hand. Bai Mingchen has always been a person who knows how to repay kindness. If he encounters danger again after the double ponytails, he will definitely spare his life to save him. But Bai Mingchen will not express this idea, he will only do it when things come. Off-road driving on open roads. A few minutes later, the cars stopped in front of a steel frame bridge. Looking at the 4 cars still smoking in the middle of the bridge, Bai Mingchen frowned. To reach the bombing safety zone, one must cross a bridge. The other bridge is far from here. Although there is enough time left for him to drive around to that bridge. But who can guarantee that there are no blockers on that bridge? There was no off-road vehicle driven by the student girl among the 4 cars, and she clearly chose the other bridge. Pick up the rifle from the co-pilot and adjust the sight to 6x. On a pile of rocks across the bridge, a man in a lucky suit is holding a sniper and aiming in this direction. Seeing the stylish black muzzle of Barrett's gun, Bai Mingchen's heart skipped a beat. Get down. While shouting these words, Bai Mingchen leaned sideways on the center console. Although it is well known that this off-road vehicle is completely useless under the anti-equipment sniper gun, having obstacles always makes people feel more at ease. Halfway down, shift into forward gear, press the accelerator hard, turn the steering wheel hard, and he controls the off-road, plunging into a ditch on the roadside. Wait for me in the car. If I die, you can find a way to run on your own. After speaking, Bai Mingchen opened the car door and flipped out of the car. Touching Bai Mingchen by the ditch, he took off his bulletproof helmet and leaned out of the gun to the ground. After waiting for a long time, there was no sound of gunfire. Bai Mingchen felt strange in his heart, the other party couldn't have missed seeing him. I changed my position and quickly glanced at it before retracting my head again. He is too lazy to wear a helmet, not to mention a helmet. Even if he wears a tank armor plate on his head, he won't be able to block Barrett's bullets. But the look from the probe made him confused again. The man walked casually in the center of the bridge, while Barrett hung beside him. The other party seems to have no intention of fighting him. This eerie scene actually left Bai Mingchen unsure of what to do. The rear door of the off-road vehicle opened, and the 2 ponytails bit their lips as they slowly got out of the car. Fool! What are you doing down here? Go back. Bai Mingchen roared angrily. The pair of ponytails climbed up to him with firm eyes. To die together. The clear words with double ponytails warmed Bai Mingchen's heart. At this moment, a male voice came from the direction of the steel bridge. Bai Mingchen. Don't shoot, I have no ill intentions.